To better understand the issues and the people at the heart of the issues that each team will be working on, we need to know who our stakeholders are and we need to understand them. But before we do so, we need to know who stakeholders are. Stakeholders include anyone who may be impacted by, have some interest or a vested interest in, or have influence over a project, issue, or challenge. This is a really broad range, and sometimes in government we tend not to think this broadly. The list may be limited to policymakers or people who are developing programs, but we are trying to expand that model. This is needed because the 5 themes of Canada Beyond 150 capture a broad landscape of issues and people. Here are some examples of stakeholders we want to explore: academics, citizens, policy leads, frontline public servants, affected groups, NGOs, and industry associations. Stakeholder analysis is a process of systematically gathering and analyzing qualitative information about the people and groups who are impacted by the issues. A stakeholder analysis has 3 stages. 1. Identifying stakeholders. 2. Understanding stakeholders. And 3. Prioritizing stakeholders. The analysis is normally represented through visual aids such as maps, grids, or matrices. The information from these aids is often transferred to an Excel document for monitoring and management of stakeholder information. It is important to note that a stakeholder analysis is a multi-stage, iterative process. You might not get it right the first time. We will be focusing on the first 2 stages in this presentation. Identifying stakeholders is the first step. This is an initial brainstorming on who your stakeholders could be. Think of all the people who are affected by your work, who have influence or power over it, or who have an interest in its successful or unsuccessful conclusion. If your initial brainstorming session results in a large number of stakeholders, consider grouping them by interest, and then assess their importance within each interest group. Be intentional when identifying the marginal and the vulnerable. There are many tools and techniques that can be used to assist your brainstorming process. A Radial stakeholder map is one such tool that helps to think of stakeholders and organize them in terms of location: international, national, local community, other, or themes and topics of your choice. The next stage is understanding your stakeholders. In this stage, you are trying to get to know more about your most salient stakeholders and their needs. You also need to know how to best engage and communicate with them. You can ask the following questions about your stakeholders to reach this understanding. What do your stakeholders care about? What kind of assumptions do they have about the world? What would you like to learn from them? What kinds of concerns might stakeholders have? What is the best method of communication for different stakeholders? Stakeholders are the heart of our engagement plan. So after identifying them, we need to know how to best engage with them. The purpose of engagement is to provide participants with an opportunity to state how an issue affects them, identify underlying values, and contribute to shared outcome. The Government of Canada recognizes that informed decision-making requires the knowledge, views, values, and skills of experts, stakeholders, and citizens to inform and shape effective government policies, programs, and services. The Government of Canada is committed to engage citizens, stakeholders, and other governments to participate in well-designed processes that create space for deliberation and collaboration of the participants involved. Through that commitment, a team from the Privy Council Office Communications Department has created a pre-engagement checklist. These are questions teams should ask or consider before engaging with stakeholder groups. 1. Clarify your purpose. Questions teams should ask are: why do you want to engage? How will you use what you hear? 2. Clarify who you need to hear from. You could ask, who would be affected by this topic? Who is invested in the status quo? What do we know about where they discuss this topic now? What is their preferred approach to being engaged? How do we know? 3. Teams should ensure that they clarify what recent related consultations have taken place or are underway. 4. Clarify your assumptions. Teams could ask themselves, what do you expect to learn by consulting and listening to these stakeholders? What evidence do you have now about stakeholders' positions on this issue? What do you need to understand better in order to understand the current state of this policy issue? 5. When clarifying your approach, teams can ask themselves, what methods and tools are available that could help you achieve your objectives and reach target participants? 6. Last but not least, clarify your success. How will you know when you have enough feedback?